Now we'll explore Live's browser, which is where we can pull in content such as samples or audio devices or instruments and start to build a song. So the browser is divided into two sections. We have these kind of categories here on the left, and then this content pane over here on the right. So there are three main sections in the sidebar on the left here. We have this collection section, the library, and then the places. I'm going to start here with the library. So the library is where all of the content from Ableton's core library is going to be shown in various categories. If you have also installed other live packs from ableton.com, all those contents will get sorted automatically into these library categories as well. So the first is all. This is just going to allow us to find something of everything. Literally everything shows up here. Sounds is where we start to narrow it down. So if I click sounds, this is just giving me specific instrument sounds. So if I'm looking for maybe a brass sound or a bass sound or whatever, I can find that here in sounds. Drums is going to give me just drum sounds. So a couple of different things that we see here. We see drum rack, which is a basic drum playback instrument, which allows us to load samples into it. It's just sort of like a blank slate to load samples into. But then we have a bunch of presets for the drum rack here. And if I click through some of these different things in the browser, we'll also hear a little preview play down here. If you don't want to hear the preview play, you can turn off the preview button. That's this little blue button that looks like headphones here. I usually like to have that on though, so we'll leave it on. If it's playing and you want to stop it, you can hit spacebar to stop it. So drums will give us a blank drum rack or drum rack presets, I should say, which are already preloaded with samples. It's basically drum kits. Then we have instruments. These are going to be all of the instruments that come with Ableton Live. These are going to be synthesizers, drum machines like the drum rack. If you have Ableton Live Suite, some of these are Max for Live instruments as well. And different synthesizers, different sample players, things like that. We have audio effects, which are all going to be things that will affect the audio in various ways. The common audio effects include things like reverb or filters or EQs or delays, saturators, distortion, that kind of stuff. Those will all show up here in the audio effects. MIDI effects are going to affect incoming MIDI notes in different ways. We'll explore those in a future lesson, but those are things that will generally go onto a MIDI track and affect the playback of an instrument in some way. Modulators are going to be effects that will allow us to modulate or change parameters in a certain way, things like LFOs, for example. Max for Live, these are going to be additional devices that are made specifically for Ableton Live. So it's kind of like plugins, but made specifically for Ableton Live. These are going to include instruments, audio effects, and MIDI effects. Plugins are going to be third-party plugins, meaning things that are made by other developers that can work in just about any DAW. So if you have Xfer Serum, for example, that's going to show up as a plugin. Let's see if I can find Serum on my ridiculously long list here. Yeah, Serum will show up as a plugin, and you can run Serum in Ableton Live. You can run it in Apple Logic. You can run it in Bitwig. You can run it in Cubase and several different DAWs. It's not exclusive to Ableton, but it is made by a third-party developer. So all of your plugins will show up here. We have clips. These are going to be basic little song starter ideas. A lot of these might be either a MIDI clip that's playing a melody or an audio clip that's a loop or something like that. We have samples, which is going to be just straight up recorded audio samples. Some of these are going to be one shot, like single drum sounds, for example, like we have here. Some of them are going to be loops, like a full drum loop or maybe a music loop or vocal loop or something like that. So here I've got some one shot drum samples there. Grooves are going to be presets that we can use in the groove pool. That will be the topic of a future lesson, so we're not going to worry about that right now. Tunings are presets for different tuning systems. If you don't want to write in traditional Western tunings like minor and major scales, for example, if you want to write in foreign scales or things like that, you can access these different tuning files here that comes with a whole lot of them. And then we have templates. These are going to be basically default projects or projects that we can open up that will have certain things defaulted or certain tracks already set up and ready to go. So we'll see those there. Then moving down here, we have places. The first thing you'll see in places is going to be packs. This is going to include the core library. So if you just installed Ableton Live and you're brand new to it, at the very least, you're going to see core library here. But if you've installed other Ableton Live packs, they will show up on this list. You can see I have a lot of them here. If you own Ableton Live Suite, you should see at the bottom of the list, it should say available packs, and it'll tell you which live packs you have available, and you can actually download and install them right from here. Live packs are basically going to include additional samples, presets for some of the live devices, like some of the synthesizers and things like that. So stuff of that nature that you can kind of add into your main library up here. The user library is your own customizable set of folders for different devices in the library. The most use you'll probably get out of this, I mean, the most use I get out of this is saving presets for various Ableton devices. So if I go to this presets folder, and by the way, if you're new to Live, these are probably all going to be empty. But my presets folder here, I use certain instruments like Wavetable, for example, is an Ableton synthesizer I use a lot. And so I've made a bunch of presets for that. And when I save them, they go into my user library here. So again, user library is your own customizable place for saving samples or saving presets for different live devices. Then we have the current project. So this is just going to show us the contents of the current project that we're working on. I have not saved this. This is just a brand new project, so it's empty right now. But if I save this project and I start maybe collecting and saving samples into the project, those will show up in this current project category here. And then everything from this point down, these are all folders that you can add to the places, just sort of like customizable list here. So all you got to do is hit add folder. If you got maybe a specific samples folder you like to access all the time, I can click add folder. I can go to my, let's go to my music folder in my samples folder here. And let's say I'm just always using this Raw Cuts Super Pack. Sure, I can click on that and I can hit open. It will add that folder now to my places, and then all of the samples and things inside of it will be accessible to me right from here. If you want to remove a folder from the places, you simply right click on it and click remove from sidebar. It's not going to delete the folder from your hard drive, it's just going to remove it from the places sidebar here in the Live browser. Up at the top here, we have the collections. This is basically a set of seven different colored tags that we can use to tag anything that we find in the browser. So by default, these are just going to literally be named red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and gray. And you can change these names by right-clicking and selecting rename. You see I've kind of gone in and customized these. So you can name them whatever you want, but the important thing here is that you can use these tags to quickly access and find things in the browser that you use all the time. So, you know, as you start using Live more and more, these are going to become more relevant. But let's take, for example, I have my first tag, which was originally red. I called it synth favorites. And if I click on it, it has tagged a bunch of synthesizers, plugins, and things that I use very frequently. So I see all of these set up here. If I want to tag something in the browser, all I have to do is find it. Let's say I have this audio effect favorites category that I've set up here, or this collection that I've set up. If I go to an audio effect and I'm like, you know what, I've really started messing around with this erosion plugin and I think it's really cool, or this erosion audio effect, I think it's really cool. I want to tag it to my audio effect favorites. I can right click on it, and then from this menu I can select that tag, the yellow tag from here, or I can simply press the number 3. It'll add the yellow tag. And if I go to audio effect favorites, I'll see erosion. There it is, added to my list. If I want to remove something from my list here, just right click it again and then uncheck the tag, or you can press the number 3 again in this case. So you can see 1 will tag red, 2 will tag orange, 3 will tag yellow, etc. So I'm going to untag that one. And kind of reset my collections to how they were. But yeah, the collections are basically colored tags that we can tag anything in the browser with, and it's a great way to just organize things and find things that we use very frequently and be able to bring those into projects very easily. Let's jump over here to the content pane and take a little bit of a deeper look at that. So I'm going to go down here to, let's go to sounds. So let's say I'm starting a project and you're like, you know what, I want a synth bass sound and I want to start writing a bass line with that. So you can see that the content pane is divided into 2 windows here. We have this filters section up here, and then basically the content down here in the bottom half of it. So the filters allow us to use these tags to kind of identify things that we're looking for, or kind of narrow down what we're looking for. So I mentioned I want a bass sound, and I want it to be synthesized. So maybe we'll go like analog style bass sound. So if I click those 2 tags now, it's going to narrow down all of the sounds and give me only synth presets that kind of fit those filters or fit those categories. And if I click on these, I can hear a little preview of what those sound like. And yeah, all these sound pretty appropriately like synth basses. Or maybe I'm looking for a drum loop. So let's just clear the content filters here. Let's go to samples. That's where I'm going to probably find my drum loops. And then we can go to type. I'm going to go to loop. And I want it to be a drum loop. So it's going to show all the drum loops that come with my core library, as well as any of the live packs that I have downloaded. So what do we got here? That's cool. And then if I find something I like, and let's say maybe I want to tag it for later, I can right click it. And for this one, I might tag it to my percussive loops and hits. Or if I want to just bring it into the project and start working with it, I can drag and drop it either onto an audio track because it is an audio sample. Or if you're going through things, maybe you're going through the clips folder or the samples folder and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not sure if this is audio or MIDI or what. You can always take something and drag and drop it into this area of the arrangement view where it says drop files and devices here, and then it'll automatically make the correct track for me. So you can see now it says, the new track called House Bump, and it's an audio track, and this was an audio loop that I dragged in. If I hit spacebar, we can start hearing that playback from my arrangement. Another interesting browser feature is this history function. So if you look up here, you see these little left and right arrows. If I hit the back arrow here, it'll actually take me back in time to each step that I made as I was going through the browser. So you can kind of go back. This is great if you're just kind of moving through the browser quickly and you find something cool and then you accidentally click on something else and you're like, well, wait a minute, I forgot what I clicked on before. You can use this browser history to go back and find previous searches, basically. So that's pretty cool. And then the other thing that I really love about the browser is what's called similarity search. This works really great for samples and for certain presets in the Ableton Core library for different synthesizer presets and things. But let's go to samples here. And let's say I'm looking for, let's say, a snare sample. So I click snare, and I find a snare, kind of like that one. So I find a snare, and I'm like, you know what? I like this snare, but it's just not quite the thing right now. You see that when I move my mouse over that snare file here, that AIF file, there's this little icon over here, which is called the similarity search button. If I click that icon, what it's going to do is it's going to compile a list of all the snares that I've imported or that are in my core library or any live packs that sound similar to the snare that I've selected. And it gives us this little bar that sort of rates the similarity to it. So here's the original one. And then it goes through and it plays me, or gives me a list of other snares that are somewhat similar to that one. So this is a great way to find new samples. I find it especially useful for drums if I just want to swap a certain drum sound out for something else. Very, very cool feature. So yeah, that is going to do it for the browser. Just wanted to give you a quick overview how to start navigating this thing and start pulling stuff into your project so you can start writing some music. I'll catch you in the next video.